So, being a good man is not an exam or a qualification. It changes, and it incorporates being a good friend, a good father, a good employee, a good boss, a good neighbor, and a good citizen. If New York is a wise guy, Paris a coquette, Rome a gigolo, and Berlin a wicked uncle, then London is an old lady who mutters and has the second sight. She is slightly deaf and doesn't suffer fools gladly. Because there is no better tool for writing than experience. It has very little to do with grammar and everything to do with knowing. Bald isn't like being ethnic or disabled. Everyone can and will make jokes about it and expect you to laugh good-naturedly, which you will. Texting isn't writing. It's not like letter writing. Texting is short script writing. It's a collaborative soap opera where nothing happens. The part that makes you unique is the bit people will like or fear, fall in love with, or try to avoid. Margaret Thatcher was as viscerally hated at home as she was warmly respected abroad. I don't do dinner parties. I have people come to share the food I've cooked for the family. Boredom is not a thing. It's not a feeling or a condition. It is the absence of feelings, things, and conditions. Money has to be an explosion of excitement and opportunity, yet we already secretly know that it doesn't do what it promises. Nothing has ever given us as much pleasure as our pocket money when we were 12, or our first wage at the end of that first exhausting week, paid in folded cash. The more there is on offer, the more you don't want. 50 options of cereal does not hone an Epicurean expertise in the finer points of puffed rice. It murders appetite. I can tell very quickly when people are lying. There's no pleasing the British or winning their favor. They simply hate politicians. All politicians. Hatred goes with politicians like mint sauce with lamb. It's as old as parliaments. The suit is the polite taming, the socializing, the neutering of writing and military kit. Those pointless buttons on the cuff were moved from lateral to vertical. Writing, for me, is the great organizer. It's while writing that I think most deeply about things. I tell you, once a girl's got a dose of novels, she's a pushover for iambic pentameter. Trying to learn to be a good man is like learning to play tennis against a wall. You are only a good man, a competent, capable, interesting, and lovable man when you're doing it for, or with, other people. Mourning the loss of the phone call is like pining for buggy driving or women in hats or 3 martini lunches. They've gone. People who don't believe in God are no happier than people who do, and those who do believe are no nicer than those who don't. I'm frightened of my innate vanity. I mean, the suits lined with scarves. Even I know the warning signs. I could quite easily end up in a tiny Playboy mansion, all on my own. I generally only eat 1 meal a day, which is pretty unusual for a restaurant reviewer. It's not that I have a problem with food. I'll eat anything that doesn't involve a bet, a dare, or an initiation ceremony. People who know there is a God and people who know there isn't live in exactly the same world. Same number of hours in the day, same weather, same football results. They both love their children and die of the same diseases. Everyone has to go to a funeral at some time, and you need to be dark and somber and in a black tie. The real question is, if you knew there was a God, would you behave any differently? And if the answer is yes, then perhaps you should assume there is. You don't have a choice about fashion or aesthetics, you're in it, whether you like it or not. I've often been accused of dressing too well. I've always been fascinated by fashion, though I don't think I'm particularly fashionable. All people from small islands dance funny. Cowboy boots you can't wear unless you actually are a cowboy or in a status quo tribute band or over 60. There's something about a retiring gent in cowboy boots that looks sort of presidential. When I joined the Sunday Times, the people I was competing with were all 10 or 15 years younger. They all had double firsts from Oxford or Cambridge. They were all bright as new pins. I don't remember ever stealing things, but I suppose I was endlessly borrowing money off people. I don't go to the openings of shops or parties given by people I don't know. I'm terribly prone to anxiety. I get very depressed and I get very anxious, and my anxiety is almost always about my children. Personal adornment is the only cultural form that everybody in the world takes part in. And learn to tie a bow. It's not difficult, and there's no excuse for either a clip-on or the hideous Hollywood straight tie. Nature gave you your look, and there's only a limited amount you can do about that. But what you wear is the skin you choose for yourself. No 13-year-old or over should ever be seen in trousers that finish above the ankle. It doesn't matter how good your legs are, or if you're on a beach in Bermuda where they invented the things. It is impossible to be taken seriously in shorts. No one has ever cared about anything said by a man in shorts. Shorts are silly. Men in shorts are silly men. And silly is the very worst thing a man can be. You can propose marriage naked or in handcuffs, but no one is going to agree to forsake all others for a man in shorts. You can't declare war in shorts or deliver a eulogy in shorts. So much of life is not about whether you're good or bad, or right or wrong, or can afford or not afford. It's just about timing. There are 5 great ages of man, 5 moments when you need to reevaluate everything, clear out the cupboard and the wardrobe, and most importantly, your head. They are 13, 20, 30, 40, and 60. All men need to know this. 20 is a tough age because it slips past in the middle of so much else: university, gap year, leaving home, getting jobs. Songs are all poetry, and they don't make any sense. This is the trouble with cheating. There are no acceptable rules or laws. It could be a smile or dancing to a song that you consider to be indefinably ours. It can feel like cheating to go to a restaurant that you used to go to with someone else. Keeping photographs of exes can infuriate, like retrospective cheating. My only piece of advice is that all of you consider every single text and Snapchat that you ever make as also being shared with your partner, because they all check your phones all the time. Trust me on this one. People collect boredom, they hoard it, they wallow in it, hoping that one day it'll be of interest and become an effete ennui. Let me tell you, it doesn't. If you're bored, it's because someone else is fulfilling his dream. Become a bore. It's the most interesting thing you'll ever do. The answer is that if God exists, He doesn't seem to mind if you believe in Him or not. I don't know if English is the only language where some expressions only and solely mean the opposite of what they say, but we do have an awful lot of them. In fact, Everybody should wake up smelling nice. I go further, there is not an excuse, ever, not to smell nice, particularly your feet. Learning Jimmy Carr riffs off by heart is not the way to anyone's heart, unless you're Jimmy Carr. And remember, the two most attractive things in a man is a sense of danger and being able to make a girl feel really safe. Penicillin and plastic bags help a lot. Fridges and hot water make man lines more comfortable, and Tom Ford's fragrance range makes it smell better. But the idea that has pushed our lives into the light more than any other is immorology, is feminism. The trouble with righting some wrongs is that it makes the remaining ones seem even more unbearable. A cravat has to be approached with consummate self-confidence and a devilish nonchalance. A cravat has to be grasped by a man who knows how to treat a cravat. The only acceptable cravat is the original Croat one. A cravat is the only item named after Croatians. Balkan mercenaries were brought to Paris by Louis XIV. Their strange and exotic attire attracted the French bonhommes, who were wearing formal ruffs, and who immediately took to the simple and relaxed military cloth tied at the neck. The Lib Dems are sidekicks. They were born to be sidekicks, and that's what they should concentrate on being. You see, the problem with Dave Cameron is that people know who he is. The less people know about him, the more he's likely to get re-elected. The problem with a man bag is that it's called a man bag. Women's handbags are incredibly heavy. You rarely get to pick one up, and when you do, you wonder why anyone carries so much stuff around all day. Have you noticed that almost all the change in the world goes to women? When was the last time you had a 5-pence piece? Exactly. In a Christmas pudding. All the rest of it is in women's handbags. As handbags get ever more absurdly large, so they need to carry more stuff to validate the expense of this huge trunk with chains, buckles, and padlocks on.